I think Republicans need to see this.
Okay, I get it. It's stressful. On one hand, you have a former prosecutor, an attorney general, a U.S. senator, and a vice president. On the other hand, you got a guy talking about Arnold Palmer's penis.
He took showers with the other pros. They came out of there, they said, oh my God. That's unbelievable.
And it's a close election?
But what happened, with Afghanistan, I do the weave. You know what the weave is? I'll talk about like 9 different things, and they all come back brilliantly together.
But here's the good news, and there's a lot of it. Early voting has always been a good sign for Democrats, and as of today, 20 million people have voted, mostly in swing states. And here's why that's good news.
Almost half of all ballots returned are from registered Democrats. About a third are from registered Republicans. And a little more than 20% are from voters who aren't affiliated with either party.
I think this is a good indication that we are going to see a lot of enthusiasm around this race of this election cycle. So I think people are hungry to have their voice heard at the ballot box. So we're not surprised, but people really want to have their voice heard. No matter what they're going through, they're connecting the dots between their everyday lives and who they want to lead them and what kind of policies will help them and their families the most.
I know a couple of things. Polls may tell us how people feel about candidates, but they don't tell us who's actually going to vote. And early voting has traditionally been good for Democrats. And as I mentioned, 20 million people have already voted. And to that point, Harris leads tiny fingers among early voters, 63% to 34%. This according to a USA Today Suffolk University poll of those people who've already voted. Another positive sign is a number of newly registered voters since 2022. 49% of the 18 million are Democrats, and only 34% are Republicans. And Democrats are pumped, with enthusiasm for voting surging among Democrats since Harris took over, ticking up from the 55% who said they were enthusiastic back in March to 78% this August, that according to Gallup. And enthusiasm among Republicans, it's flat and inching downwards. And well, duh, this is your guy.
The transgender thing is incredible. Think of it. Your kid goes to school and comes home a few days later with an operation. The school decides what's going to happen with your child.
And more good news. In Michigan, a crucial battleground state, which Biden flipped after Trump won it in 2016, the share of early voters who are black is 3 percentage points higher than it was at this point in 2020, a trend that will benefit Harris, whose support among black voters is way higher than Trump's.
Very fine people on both sides.
And Trump has the balls to insult black people willing to vote Democratic?
Discriminating against and denigrating, just denigrating white people.
And it gets even more interesting when you see that Trump is losing a big chunk of his base in swing states. Yeah, uneducated white men are turning their backs on tiny fingers at almost 20%. And when you look at swing states, that demo, uneducated white men, makes up close to 50% of the voters.
White voters who did not go to college have been one of his key demographics.
It's been a key demographic for him. It's been his base. But in fact, it's moving a little bit away from him. You go back 4 years ago, he won him by 31. Now what we look is we see that in the latest average of polls, he's only up by 27. The fact that we're seeing this core group of supporters actually moving away from him, not just off of the 2016 baseline, but the 2020 baseline as well, I think that's a rather interesting development.
Shrinkage.
That's huge for Kamala. And let's talk about that for a second. College, it doesn't make you smarter. Learning from your mistakes, however, is a valuable tool.
I am a registered Republican.
And I'm a lifelong Republican. Matter of fact, I have never voted for a Democrat in my entire life.
I've been active all my life as a Republican.
I voted for Donald Trump. Not my proudest moment. I will not be voting for him again.
Voted Republican 2016, but not for Trump. I would not vote for Trump.
I grew up in the church. Character and morals and values are big to me and my family. The hardest thing to watch in the last 4 or 5 years with all of this has been the evangelical Christians sell out to this false prophet.
And I've left out the 2 most important demographics for Harris, women and undecided independents. Let's start with the undecided independents. Now, I know most of you are watching this saying, how the f could anyone be undecided? But many of them are, really. And that's exactly why Harris is out with Liz Cheney.
Vice President Kamala Harris appeared with former Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney in Chester County with a message designed for independents and Republicans leaning against her opponent, former President Donald Trump, in saying that she will be a president for all regardless of party.
It is not about the individual. It is not about what is in their personal interest. It is about what is for and in the spirit of the public good.
One such Republican supporting Harris is Cheney herself, the daughter of former Vice President Dick Cheney. She says she endorsed Harris because of her adherence to her conservative principles.
The most conservative of all conservative principles is being faithful to the Constitution. And you have to choose in this race between someone who has been faithful to the Constitution, who will be faithful, and Donald Trump.
Cheney says Trump's actions on January 6 disqualify him from returning to the White House. Other Republican supporters of Harris say Cheney's presence on stage is vital to convincing their peers to cross party lines.
Liz Cheney is as conservative a Republican as you can be. And for her to come out and support Kamala and go barnstorming across Pennsylvania today, I mean, I think that's really important. I think Republicans need to see this.
Liz Cheney is as conservative as a Republican can be, but she's also a pragmatic patriot, willing to set aside party differences and instead save our democracy. And she's looking for fellow Republicans who feel the same. So the only undecided voters left are Republicans who may have never voted for a Democrat, but they look at this and throw up.
Get your fat husband off the couch. Get that fat pig off the couch.
Cheney joins a cabal of never-Trump Republicans who are either willing to vote for Harris or stay home. And it's understandable. Their party was stolen and turned into a cult.
This isn't their Republican Party anymore.
So the numbers hiding from view are early voters, the uneducated white guys, black voters, and undecided and independent. But the real number that will guarantee Harris's victory? Women. Since the Dobbs decision overturned Roe, Trump has alternatively glowed at the result.
But if you look at what we've done with Roe v. Wade, we did something that everyone said couldn't be done, and we got it done. And I give great credit to the Supreme Court and the justices for having the courage to do it.
That's not what women or the men in their lives want or will tolerate. The real Donald Trump is out there, and he has a grudge against women who don't swoon or stay in their place.
There has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman.
Yeah, there has to be some form.
And when Trump calls himself the father of IVF one day and then congratulates Alito and Thomas the next, two justices who have not only backed the idea of eliminating contraception and IVF, but pushed for theocratic governments where women would be second-class citizens, well, that pisses off a lot of people. And they ain't all Democrats. 70% of America wants choice, and now the choice is simple: reproductive freedom or a real-life Handmaid's Tale. So don't let polls distract you. Kamala Harris is still surging, but it's a quiet movement where tens of millions of American men and women are realizing this is an election with but one choice, and that's getting clearer every day.
Damn right.
I'm ready. Let's go.
Tick-tock, mother.
This is not a normal election.
Yes!
That is crazy.
This isn't their Republican Party anymore.
They're eating the dogs. Trust me.
Shut the fuck up, Dan.
Who's with me? Oh, yeah, the lie.
Indictable.
Out of sheer morbid curiosity, I'm allowing this freak show to continue.
I don't want to talk about this stuff.
Am I wrong?
Yes!
Tick-tock,
You're in a lot of trouble, Donnie.
I think he's crazy.
I'm Chip Franklin.